Hey all, here are OS Reviews. In this video, we're taking a quick look at the Divoom Dipow. This is a 65-watt fast charger, and what makes it unique is it's extremely cute as part of its design with a built-in LCD screen, and it's customizable so you can push other watch dials or faces over to it, similar to many of their other pixel art-inspired products that we've seen previously. This, of course, doesn't have a built-in speaker of its own, but again, it connects to the optional app using Bluetooth, working with both iOS and Android devices, so it is a very playful accessory. It comes in three colors. We have the Firefighter Red version, and it can even sit onto an included stand and act as a mini figurine or hang it onto a keychain when you're on the road. Also comes in yellow, and they claim that the shape here is inspired by a fire hydrant. Also comes in pink as well. And aside from looking cute, it's still a relatively quick charger at 65 watts. It's able to supply power to even laptops, including tablets and obviously phones. There are 3 ports, 2 which are USB Type-C, supplying the fastest charging rates, and then there is also a USB Type-A regular full-size port that can supply up to 18 watts, so slightly slower. Now, if you're plugging in 3 cables simultaneously, though, keep in mind that the maximum output is still going to be 65 watts. It will be split between the 3 ports. So for the fastest charging rate possible, you would ideally plug in just one device using the Type-C port if you're charging a MacBook, for instance. But for a pretty compact charger, that's still quite fast and can juice up most phones in well under an hour. It comes in this kind of gift-like packaging that almost reminds me of a New Year's or holiday Christmas gift, with some of their retail locations printed here on the front, and then we have inside, carefully wrapped in this acrylic shell, the actual Dipow 65. Again, this is the Firefighter Red edition. It also comes bundled with a USB Type-C cable, and it's going to be a fast-charging 100-watt cable as well. Quite vibrant and eye-catching. Now, the official MRSP is $60 for the set, which is a little on the pricey side for a charger, but keep in mind that this can also replace laptop chargers, having a few more features built on in, and perhaps more importantly, there are often discounts that you can find available when shopping around, which brings the cost lower to around $35 to $40, which I do think is a little bit more reasonable for a premium design novelty charger. There's also the ability for you to turn the screen on and off depending on your use case, and they still claim that it's going to be a safe charger, preventing against overcharging. Once the battery reaches full on your device, it will stop automatically, making it safe to use despite the higher wattage powered by GaN. The shiny acrylic plastic shell can also be used as a kind of display case of sorts. It looks like there is a tab that we can pull on the bottom here to flip the entire thing open, with some rubber gaskets as well to prevent any damage during shipping. Again, pretty thoughtful, and we have the actual charger itself. Again, really resembles a figurine or action figure from afar, and we have just some additional branding info. Down below here, it's even, again, further protected by some rubber gaskets, along with a quick start guide. And just a closer look at this figurine, we can technically make out the LCD screen underneath here, as well as some of the decorative accents for the fire hydrant, including the tiny hat here, showing pretty good attention to detail. It is crafted out of polycarbonate plastic, but it feels relatively dense, not hollow at all. And at the very top, you have all of the ports and I/O, inclusive of the Type-C ports, as well as the USB Type-A. And then further down below here, we have just the feet, aka stand, that you can pull off to access the prongs, plugging it into the wall for charging. And it can also be folded flat as well, which is a nice feature when you are traveling, just to make it more compact. So here it is next to an average size phone. So despite having a built-in screen, this is still relatively compact, easy enough to put into a backpack when you're on the road, and the feet or dock is otherwise reversible, so it works in either orientation when you pop it in. And here's also a closer look at all of the sides of the design. So we have that, again, fire hydrant theme going on. Some of the detail work here seems to be quite good. Here's also a quick look at that aforementioned cable. Also seems to be presented quite well. We can pull on the very top to remove that, and otherwise it is just made of this soft touch silicone material, feeling quite grippy, along with some metal accents here on the very tip and connector sections. Pretty vibrant colorway. Let's take a closer look at the display and features next. Alright, so plugging it in, you can see this is the initial power up animation. It will indicate 65 watts. And we're going to jump into the Divoom app, the same one used on all of their other previous products. On the main tab here, we're going to click to add a device, turning on Bluetooth and location services, including the Dipow 65. So let's tap there to pair. And in the future, it will remember the charger, so you don't have to repair, as long as you're within a range of 10 meters away from the charger. And as you can see here, by default, it's going to go into a loop of many of the pixel art inspired animations, artwork that we've seen previously from the other products. It pushes roughly 100 or so into the built-in memory of the charger and goes into this loop that will refresh as more artwork becomes available from the app. So it's actually quite fun, acting as kind of this dynamic piece. If you're also setting it onto your desk, it can be a desk decor gadget, generally remaining easy enough to see. And of course, if you are in a darker space or environment, it becomes even more vibrant. And from here, you can also manually dim the screen, so make it a little bit dimmer or turn it completely off. That being said, the actual charger itself doesn't have any built-in buttons or controls of its own, so you can't turn it off if you are disconnected from the app, for instance. It relies on this connection, and similarly, it's not a touchscreen, just like on their other products. So again, when you want to configure and customize it, you have to open up this Divoom application. You have the ability to design and create your own kind of pixel art inspired animations, including ones that you see here, changing different colors and pushing it along. You can add different frames and stitch them together, as you can tell there, and overall it's relatively responsive. And aside from audio playback, almost all the other features from the display's perspective are the same as the Ditto as well as the TiVo 2, including something here called pixel coloring. So it's kind of a step-by-step coloring guide that teaches you how to color in the squares here and create artwork, which might be fun for kids as well. Some other tools, including access to some music production settings, including drums and also piano. Audio here won't be coming out from the charger since there are no built-in speakers, but rather from the phone, but still you get a visualizer display on the actual charger screen if you choose to do so. You can even find a dedicated game section to play back some pixel art inspired retro games. And your phone here will act as a virtual controller. So here we have kind of a roulette wheel that will spin round and round, similar to on a casino. Seeing if those two shapes and icons will match together. A couple of other titles here include a pixel dice, so this just roll a random dice here generated using the screen if you're playing other games. Here is a magic 8-ball, so it will kind of tell your luck. If you ask a question, you'll see a response that gets generated here. Astro Battle is basically a version of Brick Breaker, and you're able to, again, navigate up, down, left, and right using the D-pad here of the phone. Here's also an 8-bit version of Flappy Bird, a classic here, but still seems to be mostly playable enough using just these basic controls. And the next tile over is going to be a version of Snake. You can navigate up, down, left, and right to, again, eat more pieces as the snake continues to grow. Definitely quite a nostalgic feeling playing on a tiny screen like this, and kind of crazy in a way this is a charger that you're able to essentially play retro games on. A very simple, again, racing game in this very pixel art inspired way. You can move left and right to avoid any obstacles, so on and so forth. Here is Pixel Frog, which is basically a version of kind of Crossy Road, but with very simplified graphics, as well as the title here inspired by Battle Galactica with all these spaceships you're trying to destroy, with these moving sprites that you have to avoid. So many of these classic games from early days of computing can also be found here. Some other basic functions include a stopwatch that you can also activate, with some fun animations there as you are timing yourself, performing certain activities. You can also find a countdown timer here as well that will show kind of a bomb that then explodes when it reaches down to 0. A scoreboard function can also be found, so you can increase the score here as you are playing back certain games between two players and have it be shown here on the table. And notification control can also be found, so if you have incoming messages from social media or emails, it will flash a notification on the screen of the charger that kind of grabs your attention, similar to on a smartwatch. You can set what types of apps have access to basic notifications. Now the next tab over allows you to check out the current clocks that you have on the device's built-in memory. You're able to find and loop through those settings here. Again, going through a very quick reel, you can see they all look reasonably attractive. You can set 12 or 24-hour formats, and also, again, just see a little bit more status at a glance, including the date information on some of these, which are a little bit more complicated. It all looks reasonably attractive, and the resolution of the screen here actually isn't that bad. It still is easy enough to make out smaller text details. And then we have that cloud channel that we talked about earlier, which is just going to show off various animations. And again, you can reset and update the 100 or so animations, pushing a new set over into this particular channel. And you can also find some custom slots as well, where you're able to build your own watch face or dial by using your own photo as the background image. And you can also find some more classic style dials as well, including analog, can also be found. Others which might be a little bit more simplistic in terms of their animation style. So a pretty good mix, I would say. And if these built-in options aren't sufficient, you can also find a middle tab where you can look for even more community members creating their own artwork and sharing this onto a forum. You're able to download and then kind of reference those pieces of art, save it onto your display instead. And I like the fact that all of their pixel art inspired products are basically compatible with one another. It's not just locked down to a single product. So you're able to reuse many of these artwork that have been available for years now since their first generation pixel art displays have come out to the market. Plenty of different popular culture references sorted by various genres, including new. We have various holiday themes available here as well, including New Year. And also other categories here include ones that are inspired by different characters, as well as emojis and popular culture. You can tell here it just takes a moment to really move over to the device, not too slow. Emoji patterns can also be found, so this might be a fun way to, again, express your mood. One here which might be slightly more realistic looking eyes. Just to provide a couple of examples here. Extremely cute, I have to admit. Here's one inspired by Kirby. Here's a rundown of some other logos and icons that looks like community members have created, including Nike shoes here. Here's a Mario reference. You can use it as a scrolling bulletin board. Here is one showing the YouTube logo. So all in all, really not bad from a customization point of view. Also, in case you haven't found one that you are interested in, you can also use the search bar to look at specific keywords. For instance, I can type in something like Pokemon, and now we can see much more results that might be in this particular theme, so on and so forth. So it is actually, again, quite fun to customize and use as a desk decor piece that kind of loops there in the background. Last but not least, I'll mention that on certain watch dials and faces, if you go into more advanced settings, you can customize certain times in the day where you want the screen to be on versus off and automate that. For instance, only at maybe the afternoons or mornings, and it turns off at night when you're sleeping, for instance. And now moving into charging, let's try topping up a power bank here by plugging it in using the first USB Type-C port. And indeed, we can confirm that it is charging quite quickly here, around 62 watts at this moment. So the rated fast charging capabilities seem to be mostly as advertised. Really shouldn't have too many problems juicing up most, again, laptops, as well as even faster power banks in just around an hour or two. For instance, most iPhones and MacBooks can charge over 50% in less than half an hour. So still quite good, considering it is also more of a novelty charger with a kind of fun screen. Now, one feature that is not found on the display here, which is perhaps a little bit disappointing, is it doesn't seem to actually show charging status. That is, the charging rate, duration that it's been charging for is actually not going to be shown. It almost feels like the screen is completely detached from the GAN charger up top. It almost feels like two disjoint products there in a way, where they've taken the screen and capabilities from one of their speakers and just given all the same features there in the app, but haven't really connected that part up to the charging part, which is a little bit weird and definitely something I think they should add in the next gen revision, since as a smart charger, it's kind of expected to have a few more charging specific features shown on the screen as well. But it is what it is at this moment. If you want to check out the charging rate, you have to be kind of glancing at that info from your kind of power bank, or if you have a USB cable that has a built-in screen of its own. In a best case scenario, maybe this is something they can unlock via a software update in the future using that screen again, but at the moment, the features are still limited mostly to telling the time info and customizing it with various icons, playing back those mini games from the app that we have seen previously as well. But overall, definitely quite fast. In just a couple of moments there, it's already gone up almost 6% for this power bank. Let's also charge up some other devices, including, say, a smartphone, charging rapidly as well. I can also confirm that even at around 65 watts, it doesn't seem to get too hot or even warm after a couple of minutes of charging, so the thermals seem to be quite good. Final demo here, let's also plug in a laptop, and as you can tell here via Type-C, it will begin charging as well. So whether it's an iPad, again, any ultra-portable laptop these days using standard Type-C can be juiced up using this small, compact charger. So that is more or less it as far as our hands-on review of the Divoom Dipow 65W charger. It is a fire hydrant action figure inspired charger, which is incredibly fun from a hardware point of view, and I do like the concept of something like this acting as a display piece at the same time, and even coming with some thoughtful accessories, including that very cute feet as it stands upright. when not being used. The charging performance at 65 watts also seems to be pretty consistent, so glad to report it's not just a case of style over substance, but rather the charger part actually does function as expected. Again, maybe the only con is there are no controls built into the charger itself, so it relies completely on the app for customization, which, speaking of, the screen part doesn't actually tell you the charging status info, which is probably fine on some of their speaker products, but I think on a charger really is a mode they should add in. But aside from that, it still is very fun, decorative, two-in-one type of tech gadget, I would say. You can learn more details if you're interested in something like this in the links down below. Very playful. That has been the Divoom Dipow 65.